Welcome to the very first long form video on this channel. And I know it's not MCOC, but it's another fighting game, another mobile fighting game. And today we're going to be talking about Dcko. So this past weekend we had experienced the first hands-on impressions with the game. They did a Server Slam, which thankfully I was part of some of the first wave to be able to get my hands on the alpha version of the game, even pre-beta. And I was able to play through everything it had to offer, at least currently, which was a story mode, rifts, and PvP. And I have to say, it was refreshing, right? It was different, entirely different experience that I've gotten from other mobile fighting games. I can compare it to a few for sure that have had maybe similar styles, but this was a breath of fresh air, to say the least. So getting right into it, within the first hour, which is I basically played about 2 hours of this game. I had cleared all of the story content that was available, which is about 6 chapters, as well as a few rifts. The only content I had not personally gotten my hands on was the PvP. Where do we start? I will say, getting right off rip, the art style was very, very appealing. I think that going for the cel-shaded look that they did was very, very unique compared to any of the mobile fighting games that we've seen, whether we're talking about Marvel Contest of Champions, the Injustice series, or even the previous Mortal Kombat games that were available on mobile as well. The cel-shaded, this comic art style is the first of any of those, and it was very, very refreshing. And if anything, that is probably one of the highest points that I can give to the game. Was the art style was fascinating. It was very, very fun to look at, to see. The animations were very, very good. It was cool. Getting into the actual gameplay, it has me intrigued. I don't think I'm 100% sold on it because it is more simplistic as just a tag team fighter, but it gave me enough that I'm very excited to have the opportunity to get my hands on the full game when that does come out, when it does release, or even if they end up doing a beta in the near future as well too. I definitely will be trying to get my hands on that as well. I compare it directly to Injustice, to Mortal Kombat, because of the style of the fighting, right? If we compare that to Marvel Contest of Champions, it's a little bit different, right? Marvel Contest of Champions has a fighting style that is relied upon intercepts, as well as very, very simple combos. You're throwing special attacks, whatever the case may be. Now, it's similar in Dcko. The main difference being is that you're not able to pull off some of those same things, right? What we would call an intercept in Marvel Contest Champions is where when the opponent would dash into us, we initiate the dash in after they do, and we are able to intercept their dash in, right? And able to land our combo. We're able to use their attack, their offense, as our own opening, right? And in that case, it's different with Dcko, and it's exciting, right? There's a couple different things as far as like throws, block breakers. There are different special attacks, and then there's ways that you can still parry the opponent and such. And if you guys both throw the same attack, there'll be like a clash scene, right? So it's different than a lot of these previous mobile tag team fighter games, but in the same sense, if you've played those, then this will feel familiar. But I will say, I do think there is some very, very cool things that this game is bringing to the table. Like I said, the art style is huge to me. The fighting, it feels familiar, but I'm excited to see how they improve upon that tag team fighter style fighting, which I already think they have, right? Some of the things that they have implemented have been very, very cool, and I'm excited to see what it looks like closer to full release. And as for like the story content, it was interesting, right? It was, I can't say much for story, right? But just the, PvE portion of the game, the playing against computers, it gives you the opportunity to start building those skills. And those skills will be very, very helpful as you get into the PvP section of things, which, as I said, I haven't gotten into. I didn't dip my hands into very much at all. But even the rifts are comparable to other, previous mobile fighting games as well, that have like, basically you're going through a normal quest, and you're taking specific fights to pick specific attributes to benefit your team in the future fights, right? And these attributes that you're gaining lead to a boss fight. And these boss fights allow you to you have the opportunity to pick through this, and this reward, right? And these are all high tier rewards that will allow you to rank up your champions, level them up, whatever the case may be, right? That's one of the ways to get more exclusive resources, and in my experience, they were refreshing quite quickly. Let's go ahead and start talking about the champions, right? That's the one thing we haven't really talked about. I may have the wrong verbiage, but basically, you get this resource and you're able to draw a certain amount of champions, right? And if you use 10 of this resource, you have the opportunity to be able to guarantee whatever specific rarity, right? So the acquiring system for champions, there's minions, and then there's actual, DC legends, we'll say, right? So if you open up 10, you get the opportunity to get one of those DC legends, right? In my case, I was able to pull champions as the likes of Wonder Woman, Superman, Starfire, Zatanna, among a few others, and I'll be showing all the gameplay. As you can see, all that's in the background as we speak. And it was cool, right? Like I said, being able to see a lot of these characters, done in a cel-shaded manner was very, very cool. Probably one of my favorite things about this game. But I gotta say, it was fun. It was very, very intriguing. Like I said, I'm gonna need more. It's got me asking questions. It has me excited for what the future has to come. But it was a very, very limited taste, right? Obviously, this was a playtest. This was a service slam. They were asking for us to try and go and break their game. They were asking to try to get some feedback for us to see if there's any bugs, any glitches. And that was the whole purpose of this, right? I can't say that I personally experienced any bugs, I don't think, through the entirety of my time playing the game. Nothing that was game breaking, no frame rate issues really. The interesting thing is, like, input. I heard some people potentially complaining about input, but I didn't have any issues with that personally, at least for the limited time that I did play. But anyways, to get through this all, I had a very good time with the game. And as I said, I'm excited for what it has, what it can continue to innovate on, but I do think this is a step forward from some of those previous titles. All right, after all that rambling, and quite random rambling at that, let's go ahead and get into the closing thoughts. So, as I said, the art style is probably one of my favorite things about the game. The tag team style fighter, where there's such as like block breaking, special attacks, tosses, whatever the case may be. I think this has innovations above previous tag team mold fighters. So that alone, if you're worried about this feeling a lot of the same, it's going to be familiar, but there are extra layers, right? And each champion still has their kits beyond that too, which is similar to previous titles too. But beyond that, the gameplay, the art style, it's fun. I'm very excited to see what they're going to be able to bring to the table as far as content, as far as legends that they're going to be bringing in. I do know they spoke about just bringing in a single champion or legend a month for their updates, which I think is a good call, right? I think the biggest thing is, in a game like this, how is balancing going to work? Is this going to be more of a game that's similar to Mortal Kombat Injustice, or is this going to be something where there's going to be a power creep going on? Like other fighters that you guys may have played on Marvel Contest of Champions, whatever the case may be. With it being free to play, there is going to be some type of monetization because the game has to make money, right? And as long as it's done in not a predatory fashion, which I know, coming from the game that I play, that is a major complaint, the way the company does their monetization. And, as long as they're keeping it respectable, I'm not super concerned. And at the end of the day, it's a free-to-play game. You're not forced to spend the money. Just some things might be intriguing. And, of course, another point of it being free-to-play is there likely will never be much of a tie between whales and free-to-play players. There will always be a gap. The game is designed to have a gap. And if it didn't have a gap, if it didn't have things that were intriguing, that were worth spending money on, the game wouldn't be here. So monetization is something to be worried about. It's something to think about, but I think this game at its core has some really interesting things. And I'm excited to have the opportunity to get my hands on it closer to full release. I'm not sure when they may do a beta. I don't have much information on that, but I will be paying attention to their Discord, which I'll probably drop a link to in the description below. But if you guys did enjoy the video, I very much do appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed the content, the gameplay in the background as well. And I'll see you guys on the next video, which will likely be on MCOC. But see you guys there.